They killed Big Bertha, the 8-pound bass that had come to my dock every morning for 3 years. I named her, fed her, watched her grow. And now she was floating belly up with 200 other fish, because my HOA president thought she owned my lake. And the chemical stench at sunrise burned my nostrils, sharp copper sulfate mixed with rotting scales, because Vivian Blackwater had dumped $3,500 of industrial algaecide into my crystal clear water, overnight turning it the color of antifreeze. And I stood there holding Bertha's slimy, lifeless body shaking with rage, until I realized something beautiful. Vivian's fancy subdivision gets their drinking water from the same underground spring that feeds my lake, every drop, 847 homes poisoned without them even knowing it. And that's when I knew karma was about to swing her hammer hard. My name is Marcus Reed. I'm 52, a retired electrician turned solar panel installer in Pine Ridge, North Carolina, the kind of man who fixes things with his hands and believes people should mind their own damn business. My 12-acre property, with its spring-fed lake, has been in my family since 1952, back when this was all tobacco fields and common sense. Every morning, I walk the gravel path my grandfather laid, boots crunching on stones worn smooth by decades of fishermen. The dock planks warm and weathered under my hands, sticky with dew honeysuckle scent, mixing with the clean mineral water blue herons nesting, bass jumping. And for 70 years this was peace, until the developers arrived 15 years ago, building Willow Creek Estates, 847 McMansions, starting at 600 grand. They wanted my land, offered me millions, wanted my lake for their country club. But I told them to build their clubhouse in hell. Most neighbors were fine waved when jogging, maybe asked about fishing. But then Vivian Blackwater moved in, 47 years old, white Lexus leather portfolio, lawyer voice, property value optimization, aesthetic compliance standards, the kind of person who probably schedules bathroom breaks. She made herself HOA president in 6 months and started her suburban dictatorship. Her first shot was a certified letter saying my fishing disturbed her peaceful enjoyment. She had paid $800,000 for her view and didn't like me catching dinner. Then she claimed my dock violated covenants, demanded I tear down a structure older than her. I called my buddy Tom Martinez real estate lawyer. He laughed so hard he nearly choked. Marcus, property that predates an HOA cannot be forced into compliance. She was threatening me with laws that don't exist. When that failed, she filed false complaints. The county inspector checked my 1987 permits and apologized for wasting time. She then escalated with harassment every morning. When I fished, she sent landscaping crews, leaf blowers, chainsaws, mowers, roaring diesel fumes choking out honeysuckle. But I kept fishing because some principles matter more than peace. Still, she pushed harder, hearing expensive surveyors with lasers and GPS to measure boundaries. My grandfather marked with concrete posts older than her whole career. 6 hours later, nothing had changed. But 3 days after, her lawyer sent me a letter saying my dock extended 6 inches into community water rights. 6 inches. She filed an actual lawsuit complete with stamps and fees. Then she went on Facebook painting me as a monster. And soon neighbors formed a digital lynch mob. But I dug deeper into county records, dust thick enough to choke, and found gold. My grandfather didn't just own land. He owned exclusive water rights to the lake's surface and subsurface, including springs, meaning legally every flush in her subdivision ran on my water. I called Tom, who said, Marcus, you don't have a defense, you've got a nuclear weapon. So we filed a countersuit and served her right in the middle of her fancy dinner party. 40 guests, wine, salmon, champagne, laughter, until the sheriff walked in. Ma'am, you've been served. Silence fell. Ice clinked, and her face turned pale. She screamed harassment, called me a redneck mask, slipping as guests scattered like rats. But humiliation only made her dangerous. The next morning, I found a threat under my windshield: stop fishing or face consequences. Soon federal inspectors swarmed my property, fish and wildlife, claiming I disrupted bird patterns. EPA in hazmat suits, testing water, county health and code enforcement, all sent by her, every one leaving empty-handed. But I was polite, and they remembered who wasted their time. That's when Dolores Martinez, a retired county clerk, tipped me off. The entire subdivision was built on protected wetlands. Developers promised to preserve natural water forever. Federal law meant violations carried massive penalties. And guess what? Vivian's landscaping company was dumping clippings and fertilizer into my lake every Saturday. I hid in trees, camera-ready honeysuckle mixing with diesel. 3 weeks of photos, timestamped GPS, logged clear evidence. Then the jackpot pristine landscaping was 40% owned by her husband Richard, the developer himself. The EPA loves when evidence ties harassment to developers. And by Wednesday, they were under investigation. Richard lost 3 county contracts. By Friday, Vivian's empire cracking loud enough to echo. But desperation makes people reckless. And the algae-side business card tucked under my wiper proved she was ready to scorch earth while I was out of town. She hired Clearwater Solutions, lied claiming community property, and an algae bloom paid cash for a midnight dump Sunday. I came home to metallic death. The lake glowing antifreeze blue fish. Floating everywhere. Big Bertha, bloated gone. My lake dead officer Jim Patterson from Environmental Crimes showed up with hazmat gear test. Strips glowing unnatural colors, confirming copper sulfate poisoning. That sterilized my ecosystem for years of felony and possibly federal terrorism. Mrs. Henderson's camera caught it all. Clearwater's truck too. 17 a.m. suited figures pouring poison. 26 minutes to erase 70 years of family heritage. I sat on my dock, broken silence, heavier than stone. No birds, no insects. Sandra found me crying, but grief sharpens focus. And as we bagged dead fish, I remembered every house here drinks from the same spring. As my lake, I tested the water at an independent lab, 4 times higher than EPA safe standards. Vivian hadn't just killed my fish. She poisoned 847 homes, every faucet, shower, ice cube, serving toxins. The same woman who tried to destroy me with lawsuits had turned her dream subdivision into a toxic site. And karma was about to taste metallic. Because when I dug deeper into property records, I realized I wasn't just defending my family legacy. I was about to watch her entire empire collapse under the weight of her arrogance and her crime.